What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are just over 2 weeks away from the very first piece of content in the Destiny 2 annual pass, and of course I'm talking about Black Armory that comes out on December 4th. This video is going to talk about different ways that you can prepare for that so that when Black Armory does come out, you're ready to go from day one. The very first thing I think you should do is take an inventory of some of the most critical resources to have heading into that content. The top three things I think you want to make sure you have a good amount of are legendary shards, enhancement cores, and mod components. Let's talk about enhancement cores first. I know there's new ways of getting these. You can do scrapper bounties, you can do spider bounties. All of those are going to give you enhancement cores, but even with those, they are still pretty rare to have, and you want to make sure you're not spending these unnecessarily. When it comes to your weapons and armor, I wouldn't focus on using enhancement cores unless it's to bump your character up to 600. There's no way of getting around that. You have to use enhancement cores to infuse up to 600. Once you get to 600 though, I wouldn't use any enhancement cores on armor whatsoever. Weapons is a little bit different. You want to use enhancement cores if you have a really good weapon or armor, a god roll that you're going to be using in Crucible or PvE. In that case, I think you want to spend them because you're going to be using those weapons moving forward. But otherwise, I think you want to be really cautious with how you're spending your enhancement cores. So to recap, make sure you're doing all the bounties and don't spend these unnecessarily. Same thing applies to mod components, and these might be even more rare than enhancement cores because there's no bounties you can do to get these. So once you have a good amount of those, yes, you want to keep checking Banshee 44 over and over there really quick, see what he has, but I wouldn't be spending mod components unless there's a really good mod that you want to be using. So right now we'll take a look at what he has. He has recovery mod and boss spec mod. Do you really want to spend 10 mod components on a recovery mod? In my opinion, not at all. Boss spec is a bit more useful, and if you don't have one of these, it might be worth buying, but you want to make sure that you're not spending mod components right now heading into Black Armory, unless it's a very good mod, because there may be new mods, and you want to have a decent amount of these to buy those if and when they are available. So, to recap, for enhancement cores and mod components, try to save these up. Don't spend them unless it's something that's really, really important. Legendary shards are a bit easier to get than those two things, but you want to make sure you have a nice amount of these as well. And if you've been playing since Forsaken came out, you may have a nice amount of things that you just threw into your vault. So right now, really quick, I'll take a look here. You want to make sure you're only keeping the god rolls, and you want to make sure you're getting rid of any duplicates. So right now, I can see right here, I do have two of these scout rifles. And one of these is pretty good. The full auto trigger system is pretty good. The other one is not quite as good, but it is 600. So in this case here, I may infuse one of these. I may infuse this one up. But you want to look and see if you have any duplicates. And I do have two duplicates here. They're different burn types, so I might keep that. But you want to go through your vault and make sure you're getting rid of duplicates that you don't really need and weapons that aren't quite god roll. So I do have a few of these through Fire and Bloods. Do I really need to have two of these? Not really. So I can go through here and easily delete some of these. Same thing applies to the exotics, and these are even more so because you can easily grab those from your collections anyway. So if you're running low on legendary shards, I do recommend going through your vault and just to look to see what you have. You know, if you don't have a really good roll, then I would delete it and get rid of it. You'll get some shards, you'll get some materials, and you may get some mod components here in the process as well. Same thing applies to your armor. You may have a lot of duplicates in here like I do. Do I really need to have two of these helmets? Nope, get rid of them. And you want to make sure that you're only keeping the very best pieces of weapons and armor. That'll help bump up your shard total. The other thing too, from a resource standpoint, and this may be more applicable the longer you've played, but you may have a lot of things in here like shaders that you want to get rid of to bump up your legendary shards or to bump up your bright dust. I think you want to also make sure you have a nice amount of bright dust heading into Forsaken, or excuse me, heading into Black Armory, because there may be some cool cosmetics that come out right away, and you want to make sure you have some of these to buy those. So just to recap, most important, shards, cores, components. You can easily get some more shards by breaking down stuff in your vault. In the byproduct, you also get some bright dust and shards if you break down shaders. And I think that's going to give you a nice head start when it comes to Black Armory. The other thing from a resource standpoint too is to look at your planetary materials. And right now, if I look at mine, yeah, I do have a lot of some of these. I have tons of phase glass, but I don't have many alkane dust or data lettuce. And here I think you want to make sure you have at least a couple hundred of these of any of the planetary materials for infusion purposes. And right now I couldn't infuse anything that requires alkane dust. So Yes, I could go to Titan, I could go to Nessus and get these materials. But the other thing too, and if you're like me, you probably have had 100,000 Glimmer for God knows how long. But the better thing for me to do would be to go to Spider and buy those materials directly from him. I can easily get that Glimmer back, and yes, I'm not going to get a huge amount by buying it from Tangled Shore, but it'll be a nice way of bumping up my planetary consumables so that I can have a nice amount to infuse whatever I need when Black Armory comes out. It also just makes sense from an efficiency standpoint because I'm not getting any Glimmer right now anyway. I might as well spend it. I can easily get it back. So we talked about shards, we talked about cores, we talked about lesser important things like the consumables. What are some other ways to prepare for Black Armory? Well, I think the other thing to do is to look at your activities. And you could probably tell pretty quick that my Hunter is pretty far behind. If you watch my videos, my Titan is at 600, has been at 600 for a while, but my Hunter is not quite there yet. So the one thing I want to do in the next 2 weeks is try to get my Hunter and my Warlock caught up. And in this downtime, I can use these next 2 weeks to do that. You also want to make sure you're doing some of the activities that are only available right now. They will be available moving forward, but you may be sidetracked once Black Armory comes out. So try out the new raid, try out Shattered Throne, try out those things. Make sure you're getting all the Seeds of Light by doing Blind Well. Make sure you're unlocking subclasses. Those are some things you want to do right now heading into Black Armory so that when Black Armory does come out, you can focus entirely on that content. But I think from a resource perspective, make sure you're getting shards, cores, and components. Make sure you're getting planetary materials, and also use this time to partake in some of the cool Forsaken activities that you may not be focusing on entirely once Black Armory does come out. So hopefully this video was helpful. Let me know in the comments below if it was. Let me know if you're excited for Black Armory. I can't wait to do it. I want to try out some of the new weapons. I want to get Icebreaker and Last Word, all those cool old ones. And I'm looking forward to seeing if there's any surprises that may await with that content drop. But most importantly though, thanks for watching. We'll catch up soon and enjoy Black Armory.